So once we've elevated the road centerline data, the next step would be to start elevating the channel information. Now in this project, we've got a fairly simple channel arrangement. So we've basically just got standard camber roads throughout the whole project. So just looking at it here, but it's exactly the same principle, whether it's camber or crossfall. So what I want to do is basically, so just remind ourselves of the situation. We've got elevated center lines. Now we want the channels to be elevated up to the center lines. So to do that, I'm going to select the channels. Now you can see here that basically what we have is individual entities. So it's actually useful to be able to connect these up. So once again, I'm just going to view data like so, and I'm basically just going to join them up. So I'm just going to select that data there, and I'm going to choose to run the project cleanup, and we're just going to run the join lines. So instead of dealing with a single polyline, we're now dealing with, a single line, we're now dealing with a single polyline. So what I need to do is, if I just turn on the road centerline data, I select my entity here. I'm going to edit the height of the channel line, but there's an option here to basically go into the vertical element. So there's no vertical data for this line at all. And we'll have to break it up a little bit. We'll see why that's later, why we have to do that. But we're going to edit the vertical data, but we can do it from an offset slope from another entity. So if I choose to use the reference line being the road center line, and if I know that the crossfall for my road is -2.5%, if I choose to auto advance, then once these are selected, they'll stay locked, so we don't need to keep on selecting them. And I can just zoom into my road, and I can say that you're basically taking 2.5% from the road center line, and we can just basically move along the road center line and just establish a series of levels. So we just have to make sure that we're catching the right points. It won't, if there's, we need to make sure we're catching enough points to catch any changes in the vertical geometry. So we could be looking at key points from the road drawing, or we could be looking at the changes of levels from the actual road center line itself. That is as far as that center line is relevant. So what we can also do is obviously go the other way. So we want to change this line string here. And again, it's relative to offset slope from the center line. And the crossfall is -2.5%. Auto advance. And then we can just choose where we actually want to put these points. And if I jump into my 3D view, you can see that these points have been elevated. Now, a word of warning is that you'll notice that once these line strings have been elevated, it elevates the entire line string, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. So we need to make sure that we are actually adding in height data along parallel to each center line. But basically, we just go through this entire data set, elevating these. You'll see that we have little laybys. What we can do those is we can do them separately. So if I just go to my 2D view, I can go in here and I can say, okay, this is actually elevated, and it continues, or maybe we reverse it. So we'd obviously look at the drawing and we can say this line string is the one we now want to edit, and we're going to add in offset slopes from the new elevated channel line. The crossfall is now positive 2.5% auto advance, and we can basically say that point there gets elevated, that point there gets elevated, that point and that point, and once again we see that we have that now properly elevated. So I'll pause the video and continue to do this. So when we're elevating the channel lines, there's one area that needs a little bit of careful attention, and that is when basically you've got a string that double backs in itself, like here. So the easiest way to deal with this is basically just break the line. So we just select here, we choose break line, and we'll break it in this corner. And it's because basically there's two instances of the chainage will basically occur on both sides. So for this, then if we break the line, then we can just, without any ambiguity, add the heights into the right areas. So when I choose a reference line here, minus 2.5%, and then we can basically just add these levels in without any problem with them maybe jumping onto the wrong side of the string. Most of the time it doesn't cause a problem, but where it does, the easiest thing is to break the string. So basically when we've completed the elevation of the strings, then this is what we've got, which is basically all the data fully elevated up relative to the center line. So the next step is to basically create your top of curbs and to elevate the back of footpaths, and we'll do that on the next video.